Hi all, welcome to another Q&A session. I absolutely love answering your questions, and these are for people who are on my markhemmings.com mailing list, so feel free to check that out. So let's get started. John H. says, hi Mark, hope you're well. Thank you, John. Can you explain a typical scenario when I would use aperture, shutter speed, P mode, and a tripod? Okay, really good question, John. First of all, I apologize for filming this Q&A session in my car, but I really find that when I'm waiting for family members or something, this is a really great way to make up time. So that's why I'm filming in my car. So aperture, I assume you're meaning aperture priority. So aperture priority, which is AV for Canon or A for most other companies like Nikon and Fujifilm and Sony, is extremely good for portraiture. So if you're in AV mode, and I do strongly suggest when you're starting out to have your ISO on auto. Now that will change as you get better and better as a photographer, but when you're starting out, ISO auto is great. Okay, aperture priority, very good for portraits by choosing the lowest f-stop number possible, which for some lenses is f5.6, some f4, f2.8, whatever the lens is that you have, the lowest f number will give you a good background blur. Also, portraits, its aperture priority is really good for, say, if you're photographing objects that you want a blurry background, like flowers, for example. Now, what about shutter priority? And shutter priority sometimes is signified by S, or for Canon, TV, and that's on the top dial usually for Canons. Shutter priority is really good for when you want to control the amount of time that your shutter stays open. For example, let's say you're doing waterfalls and you want a longer shutter so you have that beautiful misty water flowing. That's perfect for shutter priority. Now I will advise, if you are planning to use shutter priority for those wonderful waterfall shots, or even fountain, if you're in a city and you see a fountain, it's best to do those in the evening when the light is low, or if you purchase what's called a neutral density, an ND filter, to go over your lens. A polarizing filter will also do the same thing. However, the later it is, or the earlier it is when there's less light, you're going to get far better pictures doing these waterfall pictures. Okay, what about P mode? A lot of people say, well, what is P mode? Well, P stands for program, and you usually see P mode on top of the DSLRs on the dial. And P simply means automatic, full automatic, except you have the ability to adjust what's called exposure compensation. That's your plus and minus. And this allows you to get pictures that are brighter or darker. Let me explain the difference between P mode and full auto. And auto, by the way, is usually that little green icon that's usually on most DSLRs. Full auto, you don't do anything. You take the picture and the camera chooses the exposure for you, as well as many other parameters. However, in P mode, you are able to actually make the picture darker or brighter based on your desires. Okay, everything else is automatic. So it's really easy to use, except you are adjusting the plus and minus. That's the difference between P mode. And there may be a few other differences as well, depending on your camera make and model. Okay, finally, what about a tripod? I advise everybody starting out in photography, and intermediate photographers and pros, to use a tripod, but that's not always possible. For example, street photography, travel photography, a tripod is sometimes not possible at all. Okay, so if you're in a situation where you have time and you can actually set up a tripod, I advise that because it slows you down, makes you think about your photography, which is always a really good idea. I also advise a lightweight tripod and maybe a smaller travel tripod, and there's so many great options available. And really just do a little bit of research and choose the lightest tripod that at least goes up to your maybe head level. That'll be good. And you can always weigh down a cheaper plastic tripod with a book bag or something. Just hook something that's a little bit heavier onto the bottom or the sides of your tripod when you're taking a picture, and that will help you in case there's a strong breeze or strong wind, because you don't want any camera shake. Okay, John, thank you for the question. I really appreciate that, and I hope that I answered your questions and also that you guys got a lot out of this. And if you want to be a part of the free offerings that I give for those who are on my email list at markhemmings.com, please check out the website and click on the free photography lessons link, and you'll sign up. And about once a week, I give out freebies to those people who are on my list. Okay? Have an awesome day. Happy photography, and we will talk soon.